Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody who joins us. My name is Hola Atamanova, and it's my pleasure to see all of you here in Ukraine Media Center, Ukrinform. It's day 636 of the full-scale invasion of our homeland by Russian aggressor, and now we will be talking about the situation in the fuel market of Ukraine. Joining us in this studio is Serhii Kuiun, the director of consulting group A95. Good afternoon, Mr. Serhii. Good afternoon, Mr. Serhii. So let's talk about the situation for the time being. We see the fuel prices growing. So what's going on? What are your expectations? Well, good afternoon, everybody. The situation is quite ambiguous, and if we talk about the fuel, the different types of fuel, the prices are different. We focus our attention on the liquefied gas, and the reason for this tension is because the border with Poland is blocked. And why is it important? Because 30% of the import of liquefied gas comes to Ukraine specifically through Polish border, and respectively it's very difficult to replace this amount quickly, which resulted in undersupply of the product in the internal market, and due to the deficit the prices have grown. Within the last month they've grown from 27 to 35 hryvnias per liter, so basically 30%. And why is it a deficit? Because the situation started jeopardizing in October due to the intensification of agrarian exports. The lines have grown 3 to 4 times. Previously, the line, one truck was waiting for 3 to 4 days to take one trip for the fuel. And starting from the beginning of October, the expectation time is 2 weeks, and a truck could make 2 trips and bring twice as less fuel as previously. And now the border is blocked, and in the best case the truck can make 1 journey per month and bring 4 times less fuel than they used to bring previously. It all resulted in undersupply of the product in the internal market. So what do the traders do? First, they try to put more liquefied gas on railway, and they try to supply the same product from different directions, from Slovakia, from Baltic countries, through Slovakia, through Romania, even from Poland, but through the territories of those countries. And also they're looking for the new supply sources in the south, in Romania. We are in negotiations with Serbia, Croatia, and other countries, but replacing this amount of fuel in the market is difficult. This is why the process is extended. We see it's underway. There are certain achievements, and the last week we were observing many cases when there was no supply of the liquefied gas in the gas stations. Specifically in the periphery, we see that now the product is available, but the price is still at the high level. Yesterday there was another leap of prices. The prices have grown 1 or 2 hryvnias in some chains, and I think the prices are about to stop at that level, and maybe we will need a couple more weeks to saturate the market with the necessary amount of the liquefied gas, after which the price is about to fall down. On top of that, there is the seasonal decrease of consumption, and the high price also will result in fall of demand for liquefied gas, and we expect that in the beginning of December, maybe in the middle of December, the situation should be rectified. Well, and talking about other types of fuel, we observe prices growth over there too. Is it related to the blockade on the border too? No, we observe an opposite process. in the diesel and gas market. Well, there are supplies of large amounts of diesel and gas from Poland as well, but they account for 10% in the supply structure. But then replacing 10% is easier than replacing 30% of liquefied gas. And the market was able to replace those supplies through railway. We were able to get necessary amounts from other suppliers, and there are no minimal indicators of deficit in the market for the time being. And as a proof of this, we can say that the last weeks some chains started decreasing the prices. Yesterday there was a mass phase of decrease. Large chains decreased the price at least 1 hryvnia. I think that the process will be continuing within the next 10 days or a week. We will witness the decrease of prices, maybe a couple of hryvnias more, and it's no limit, because what helped us, what saved us, is that the prices in the global market of oil decreased significantly. On the peak it was $95 per barrel, now it's $82 per barrel. So the prices are falling, which allows the operators, the wholesale operators, to decrease the price, and now this process already switched to retail, so the forecast is very positive in this area. So let's talk about the forecast. What are we expecting to see by the end of this year, and what's there for us in the year 24? Well, we see no problems on the market of diesel and gas. I think that the prices are going to continue falling. As to the liquefied gas, the situation will be rectified in December. The price of this type of fuel was about 80% of the price of gas, and it should amount to 26-27 hryvnias per year. I think that as soon as the market is saturated, as soon as we find alternative suppliers, the price will very quickly fall down to that level. Talking about the following year, well, in our sector no one can give you the long-term forecast. This year demonstrated what the long-term forecasts are worth of. We've seen a lot of fluctuations when the price of oil was growing 25% within 2 months. It was 75 in July, then it grew up to 95. Everybody was talking about further growth up to 150, about collapse of the market, but what we're witnessing is the price of $80 per barrel. So it means that the market is very weakly predictable, and a great role is played by specific oil mining countries now. So it's up to Saudi Arabia and Russia, which also decreased the amount of mining. And we see that depending on their behavior, the price fluctuates. We see that the situation is very unstable in the Middle East. There is war going on there, plus our war is influencing the market, so predicting what's going to happen with the prices next year is very difficult. Talking about the supply of fuel, unfortunately this Polish case made us reconsider our forecast, because we really built a very diversified supply system of petroleum products to Ukraine after the beginning of the full-scale invasion, and we basically completely changed the geography and logistics of supply. But we see there are some unpredicted factors, like the one with the on the Polish border. Now Slovakia is threatening to impose blockade on the border, which can also adjust the situation. So we see the market keeps adapting. They quickly look for new supply routes. We change the logistics, we see more fuel coming through railway, but it's all happening within certain moments. So I think that the supply will be arranged. It's pretty good right now, even regardless the Polish blockade. But we all live under conditions of the war. The enemy continues inflicting strikes on our infrastructure. Last week there was another oil facility damaged in the south. So the situation remains quite tense in terms of difficulty to predict anything. Well, I would like to ask you whether the situation on the Polish border can influence on the supply of the fuel for our armed forces. Well, I don't think that it will be the case because, first of all, let's not overestimate the consumption by the armed forces yet. Yes, it obviously increased, but we cannot say that it's some significant percentage of the total consumption. I'm sure that the market will find the necessary amounts and there will be no problems with supply. There was a solution to reintroduce VAT and excise tax on the petroleum products. Now we can start talking about analyzing those decisions. So how did this reintroduction influence the market, and did the country really get those tax proceeds that it was expecting? Well, talking about the excise tax, just as it was expected, we see very good payment discipline here. The customs work quite well, and we see not only the disputes, but even there is no rumors about any smuggling or something. So excise tax, the state learned how to collect the excise tax well. We cannot tell the same about the VAT because the analysis shows that unfortunately those forecasts that we made, and I was making this forecast in this studio, that there will be problems with VAT. There will be attempts to evade the VAT payment. We're waiting for the third quarter, but we see that the schemes are already back. The Facebook is full with all those advertisements. I'm gonna selling fuel tickets, and people are being subjected to fraud when they buy those tickets and they pay money but they don't get the tickets. But all those problems result from tax optimization that was existing before the year 2022. So this issue remains quite important. It's not about the state under receiving the proceeds, but the problem is that those who pay those taxes become uncompetitive and the market goes to shade, which results in loss on part of businesses, state and the consumers. This is why reforming of this tax and all VAT minimization schemes, minimizing it down to 7% or maybe even removing any abuse in this area and proportionally increasing the excise tax that the government learned to collect, that will be a guarantee of full payment of taxes that the market wants or the government wants to get from the oil market. Thank you very much. Let's proceed to the questions on the floor. Oksana Polishuk, Ukrinform. Mr. Serhii, can you please tell us, does any fraction of Russian oil or fuel is getting to the market through maybe third countries due to this situation, with the tense situation with the liquefied gas and other types of fuel? Well, a lot was done within the last couple of months in this sector. The leading role is played by the National Security and Defense Council in this area. There was a number of studies. There were some big meetings with all actors and stakeholders. The parliament voted well, upon those meetings and studies, the parliament voted to some amendments to the tax code, according to which the importers are supposed to provide the full full supporting documents of the origin, all the chain of logistics from the manufacturer all the way to Ukraine. How did the product get to Ukraine? And we see that this control intensified significantly, and there were steps taken by the government that were not liked by everybody. We can talk about the cessation of supplies from Moldova and Bulgaria, the most toxic supplies, where we documented the Russian tankers incoming to Burgas and Varna in Bulgaria. The work is still underway. We continue tracking those flows, but the signal is very intense. You know, the suppliers from those countries, they start making communications that, guys, we got it, our fault, let's just rewind it and start working normally. But now we see that the inspections are underway. The intensification of control is to a certain extent playing its role in decrease of supply of the liquefied gas, because the main problems were over there. The supplies from Baltic countries, from Poland. Poland is the biggest importer of Russian liquefied gas in the world, and at the same time Poland is an exporter to Ukraine, so it's clear. So they get this gas from somewhere, and respectively they change the configuration seriously, and on certain stage, when the new requirements to the documents were imposed, some shipments were blocked in the border because some documents were missing, and the regularity of supplies was affected. But now everybody sorted it out, how to do things, and those who don't have supplementary documents, they double check the situation, and we see that there are certain positive results in this area. And if I may ask another question, is this situation with the problems in the border, is the situation being negotiated by Ukraine with those protesters? So what are we gonna do with this situation? Well, the Ministry of Infrastructure continues informing about their work. They try to negotiate the situation with the protesters and with the Polish government. They are in dialogue with both parties, but it's difficult to talk to the people whose demands are just made up. There is no problem of competition between Ukrainian and Polish transporters. Those capabilities that were provided to us last year, the visa-free transport, visa-free regime, it gives us advantages for transportation in Europe. It's a separate market with their requirements, and in fact that visa-free regime is only helping us to service our transport flows. Like our fuel truck is going to Poland, to Baltic countries, maybe to Germany, and then brings that fuel to Ukraine, which means that we didn't take anyone's bread away. We've created that demand and we transport that fuel to Ukraine. We didn't take anyone's share, but the protesters say their rights are violated, they are not satisfied with the competition with Ukrainians, and lately I start thinking that it's just the economic sabotage of Ukraine. We suffer colossal losses through this protest. This organization that blocked the border was created, as it turns out, just a couple of months ago. It does not represent the interests of the 95% of Polish transporting companies, and I think that our ministry does a good job appealing to the Polish government, who allowed inspection of this unclear manifestation, and I hope that this is the most efficient way when the Polish government is supposed to revoke this permit to stop this blockade. But look how advantageously the moment was picked. Currently, there is the transition of power in Poland. The old cabinet of ministers retired, the new cabinet of ministers is not yet formed, so there is nobody to revoke this permit. It's quite an interesting story. I think that we should intensify our efforts and to explain it to European Commission and to Polish government that there is somebody responsible for that, that it's an economic sabotage against Ukraine, and it should be over urgently. Well, thank you very much for joining our broadcast today. Dear colleagues, I'm reminding you, joining us was Serhii Kuiun, the director of A95 Consulting Group. Our team is working on the schedule for tomorrow. Stay tuned. Let's continue working for our victory, and glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes.